All right, so after a million different combinations of suspension pieces, this and that, I cannot get the rear of this car to ride the way I want at the height I want. So it's time to just completely change things up. All right, so what I did is I went ahead and finally just said, you know what? This thing rides so rough in the rear. I'm not even worried so much about the weight transfer and this and that. I enjoy driving the car on the street a lot more than I've done anything. So I ponied the coin up to go ahead and get some Bilstein, whatever, however you say it, rear shocks. And I mean, they're more on the expensive side, but I've heard nothing but great things about them. Yes, they're not adjustable, but right now I just wanted to ride good and enjoy this thing. But then also I ponied up for a brand new set of BMR rear coil springs. So, and they're only a 1-inch drop, but with a Fox body length rear shock and the 1-inch drop, I really think that this thing is going to ride so much better. Here are the springs, there's the part number on those, and here is the part number on these Bilstein, whatever. And these things, actually, I think they're just beautiful. Now, yes, I did go as far as removing the UPR rear coilovers because it rode fine, it rode great with the competition engineering shocks, but I just couldn't get it as low as I wanted. I really wanted that stance to it because I'm still running a low profile drag radial, but when you have the, this much wheel gap in there, it's like, man, I really wanted to sit right as well. But also, I looked into maybe relocating the shock position down so I could lower it, and then also that would still give it enough travel. There are companies that make shock extension pieces, but they're not made for a stock style shock. So they're made for something with like a Heims joint or something at the bottom. So I just said, you know what? I'm gonna go with something tried and true and something that people have done nothing but rave about, and I want to give it a shot myself. Now, the BMR springs, that's something new, something I just wanted to try. BMR has great stuff, so it's kind of like a hodgepodge of things. I'm just mixing things up. But for once, I'm actually not cutting corners. I'm actually trying to do something nice to where I can go enjoy this thing. I even gone as far as trying to create something of my own, but as far as widths go and everything, a shock wouldn't fit in that unless I actually cut this, welded this all up, and once again, I want something that's actually tried and true. And for those of you that aren't on my social media, what I have done already is I already removed the UPR coilovers and I swapped in a set of stock springs, cut a coil and a half off of them, and still with the comp engineering shocks. And I even put the airbag in the right rear, and it's bottoming the shocks out. So it definitely is time for a change up on it. The shocks just can't handle what I want it to do, or at least at the ride height I want it to be at. Now, this is my current ride height, and you know what? I don't think that's too much to ask for out of any suspension piece, but it's still just, even with that little bit of gap back there, it still just bottoms out. And yes, for those that say, well, maybe you don't have something else set up right, it's got brand new everything in the rear of this thing. I've removed the shocks and the spring and articulated this thing, and it will sink into the wheel well. So I know that the shock is my actual limiting factor. And that's what I removed out of there. Look at that. This took me all of about 15 minutes. So yeah, even looks pretty. All right, so half hour in, got everything swapped out. And I gotta say, it sits almost exactly where it was before I even swapped out, and the springs haven't even settled yet. I mean, as far as the ride height itself goes, I'm okay with that. Now, the front still does have coilovers, but I did get a good deal on AmericanMuscle.com because these springs were open box. And I got them all four, actually. They got the fronts and the rears for like $107 shipped to my door. Now, I would have gone on and just stuck with buying just the rear springs, but for $10 more, I got all four. So that way later down the road, if I really like how this setup is and I want to go back to a coil spring in the front, I have the ability to do it, and it's going to match what I have in the rear. And now that it's all together, here's the payoff. Let's go take it for a ride and see how it does. I can even tell you, even under part throttle and full throttle, the way this thing rides now is insane. It's just great. The way this thing rides, it almost feels like these two companies were like in cahoots or something. I mean, this is insane. Like, it totally different car. I must say that if you plan to go with something like this route and it's not like a full-out drag car, this is well worth it. If you have a drag car, keep it the way it was. But if you have something you just want to drive and enjoy, this is the route I would go. There you go, guys. It rides absolutely amazing. Totally different car. So, and I have nothing against any of the people I've used so far. Love the products, but this particular was something, it was just a preference of mine. So like I said earlier, if you have a drag car and this and that, then the setup I had was perfect. But if you have something you want to drive more on the street that you want a little lower and it's not going to have like a super high ride height, then man, I'll tell you, this setup is absolutely amazing. And also to pick up on the last video I made a little while back that people have been commenting on, yes, I will make that video on how to turn the auto trans switches off when you do a manual swap. I just have to get to that. This was a little bit higher on my priority list, but I will get to you. So don't forget to like and subscribe, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.